There was a time when fire was only a tool for warmth, cooking and light. Then one discovery changed everything. A strange black mixture created accidentally turned flame into force and noise into power. Gunpowder did not just alter weapons. It altered politics, borders, architecture, and the very way societies defended themselves. Understanding how gunpowder came into existence is not about learning a recipe. It is about understanding how chemistry, curiosity, and human ambition collided to reshape the world. If you value deep explanations of the everyday things that quietly change civilization, this is one of those moments where subscribing becomes less of a habit and more of a decision to keep learning. What gunpowder actually is, and why it behaves the way it does. Gunpowder, historically called black powder, is a chemically reactive mixture designed to burn rapidly rather than explode violently like modern explosives. Its power comes from how its components interact at the molecular level. One ingredient supplies oxygen, another provides fuel, and the third acts as a catalyst that makes the reaction faster and more reliable. When ignited, the mixture produces expanding gases at a speed fast enough to propel objects, shatter stone, or launch projectiles. What made gunpowder revolutionary was not just energy, but predictability. Unlike wildfires or unstable reactions, this substance behaved consistently when prepared properly, allowing humans to harness controlled force for the first time in history. So, here's how ancient China, almost by accident, stumbled into one of history's most dangerous discoveries. You know, gunpowder wasn't actually invented by soldiers. Instead, it was discovered by Chinese alchemists during the Tang dynasty, while they were searching for substances they believed could, well, extend life. But instead, they found a compound that honestly did quite the opposite when handled carelessly. Early records talk about mixtures that burned hands, scorched houses, and produced these sudden flashes of light. At first, this strange new substance was really used for entertainment and ceremony. Fireworks became its earliest application, blending spectacle with ritual in a way that must have seemed magical. But over time, as people kept experimenting, they realized it could propel objects, which led to primitive weapons like fire arrows and eventually early bombs. This kind of slow evolution, from curiosity to weapon, actually allowed the knowledge to spread without immediately destabilizing society. Now, let's look at how gunpowder traveled and honestly reshaped global warfare. Trade routes back then carried way more than just silk and spices. They also carried ideas. As knowledge of gunpowder moved westward into the Islamic world and then Europe, its purpose really shifted. Engineers and military thinkers started to refine its use for siege warfare, eventually coming up with cannons that could breach stone walls that had stood for centuries. This single change ended the dominance of castles' armoured knights and traditional battlefield tactics. Warfare became louder, faster, and, well, a whole lot more destructive. Entire social systems built around feudal defence collapsed as gunpowder-based weapons redefined power. So, let's talk about where the raw materials historically came from. Each component of gunpowder existed naturally, but sourcing them was really labour-intensive. The oxygen-providing compound was often collected from soil rich in decomposed organic matter. Charcoal required careful processing of wood in low-oxygen environments to preserve its structure. And sulfur, well, that was mined from volcanic regions or extracted from mineral deposits. What mattered most was purity. Impurities reduced effectiveness and reliability, forcing early manufacturers to develop refining techniques long before modern chemistry existed. This pursuit of consistency honestly laid the groundwork for future industrial science. So let's talk about how historical gunpowder was prepared without any of the modern technology we take for granted today. Early production really relied on grinding and careful blending, just to make sure the materials were evenly distributed throughout the mix. And the physical structure of the mixture actually mattered just as much as its chemical composition. Finely processed materials would burn pretty differently than coarse ones, which had a big impact on how quickly the energy was released. To improve both performance and storage, the mixture was eventually shaped into grains. These grains helped control the burn rate, reduce the risk of accidental ignition, and, made handling a whole lot safer. This process didn't happen overnight. It evolved over centuries, becoming more and more standardized as the demand for gunpowder grew, especially for military and industrial use. Now, let's get into why storage and safety became just as important as actually making the stuff. Gunpowder's sensitivity made it both incredibly valuable and, honestly, pretty dangerous. Heat, sparks, even just a little friction could set it off without warning. Entire buildings were lost to accidental explosions, which really pushed societies to rethink how they stored, transported and regulated gunpowder. Dedicated magazines, distance from population centres and strict handling rules emerged not from theory, but from disaster. These lessons directly influenced modern safety standards for hazardous materials. How gunpowder reached beyond warfare and into everyday life. While its military impact is most famous, gunpowder also transformed mining, road construction and tunnelling. It allowed humans to reshape landscapes faster than ever before. Even today's controlled demolitions trace their lineage back to these early breakthroughs. Fireworks remain its most visible cultural legacy, blending danger with beauty and reminding us that innovation often walks a thin line between creation and destruction. Why gunpowder still matters today? Gunpowder represents the moment humanity learned to control chemical energy. It bridged ancient experimentation and modern science. Understanding its origins is not about nostalgia. It is about recognizing how curiosity, persistence, and, those unintended consequences drive progress. And that is why this simple black powder still deserves serious attention. If this kind of deep explanation matters to you, share this video with someone who values understanding over surface-level facts, and stay subscribed so we can keep uncovering the hidden stories behind simple things.